Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Or if you're new, welcome. My name is Sam. I'm a licensed cosmetologist, and oh, I just realized that I have a neon shirt and neon orange nails. Today's video, I am going to be explaining different hair terminology. I'm just going to go into some of the more popular terms that I hear most often these days and just kind of explain what they actually are, what they look like, what the differences are, and just so that way when you're going to get your hair done, you have a better idea of what these different things are, what you should ask for, what it is that you actually want when you're talking to your stylist. So the first one is balayage. This is like the number one thing when people call into the salon and they want to get their hair colored. 80 to 90% of the time they say they want a balayage. So basically what that is it's just free hand painting on the hair. And the whole purpose of a balayage is for it to look more natural, more lived in. It's not going to grow out and have like a harsh line. It's very blended and very soft. Balayage is adding lighter pieces into the hair. Now there's also a reverse balayage where you're adding darker pieces. So say your hair is already all like a solid blonde, but you like that more dimensional, kind of softer, lived-in look. You can have a balayage done with darker hair color, so it'll give you that same type of result, but you're just darkening the hair in that instance rather than lightening it. Now, there's a few different ways to do a balayage, but traditionally speaking, you are just taking a section of the hair, and I'll try to explain like with my notebook. So say this is a section of hair you're taking. So there's all of these strands within that section, okay? And you're just painting on the surface of that section. So now this piece up top is gonna get light, but then you have all of these pieces underneath that aren't getting lightened. So these are gonna stay the same. So you have like a built-in low light. So traditionally speaking, a balayage is not going to get you super, super blonde. So if I were to do a balayage on my dark brown hair, I would only get to like a medium brown. I wouldn't necessarily get blonde doing a balayage technique. So if you have dark hair and you want a really light blonde balayage type of look, doing an actual balayage is not gonna get you there, at least not on your first session. So now that brings us to our next term, foliage. This is something that I'm sure a lot of you guys have heard before too. Now, if you have dark brown hair, a foliage will be able to get you lighter. Not in all cases, of course, it totally depends on the integrity of your hair and if you have color in it, if there's box dye, all these other things come into play. But typically, if you're just talking about like virgin, uncolored, unprocessed hair, foliage technique is going to get lighter than a balayage. Now, something that I want you to understand is with a lot of these lightening terms, people will show a picture and they'll say, oh, look at this balayage. I want this balayage. But balayage is really the term of the technique used. It's not really the final result. You can have the look of a balayage by doing a totally different technique. So remember how with the balayage I said you have your section of hair and you're only painting the surface and then all of this is getting just kind of left underneath. With a foliage, normally you would just kind of take this top piece, fully saturate it, and then place it in a foil. So then it's gonna get the maximum amount of lift. Regular balayage normally just processes in the air, or some people put like a clear wrap over it, but there's not as much heat being conducted, so it's not getting as much lift. But a foliage, because you're putting it in foils, foils conduct more heat, so that hair is gonna get lighter. So the next term is teasy lights. Sounds kind of like highlights. Basically, it's when you're taking some type of highlight and you're just teasing the hair up at the root first and then applying the lightener. And what that's going to do is it's going to kind of disperse how the hair is laying. So then it just creates like a really natural blend and a blur. So rather than taking your highlights and literally just having these solid lines, it's going to kind of be broken up a little bit, if that makes sense, if you can even see that. So it just creates a little bit of a nicer blend, and then as the hair grows out, there isn't that really harsh line. Next term, baby lights and also microfoils. I kind of classify the two as the same thing. Basically what that is a highlight, but a very, 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 very thin section. Like, I'm talking you can completely see through that hair. So that's going to give a much softer, more natural type of highlight. Again, you're not going to have those harsh lines. It's not going to be like streaky, chunky highlights, and it's going to give kind of more of like a sun-kissed type of look when the hair just like naturally falls. And it can kind of give the effect, like if you ever see a child's hair out in the sunlight, how it kind of like reflects the light and it looks like sparkly almost. It can create that effect, which I love. I think that's beautiful. Ombre. This is another one that was really popular a few years ago. I feel like I'm starting to hear it less and less, but a lot of people seem to be kind of confused about what an ombre is. I'll see people where their hair is all dark and then just the ends are light and they think that's an ombre. Technically, that's not. An ombre is a gradation of color. So you're going from dark to light or light to dark, but it's very gradual and it all just blends in together. That's different from a balayage, because with a balayage you just kind of have some pieces, there's a lot of dimension, different things going on. But with an ombre, the ends are all kind of like a solid blonde or whatever, you know, color. And then it all just gradually fades into the other color. And it doesn't always have to just be like from brown to blonde. It can be like from dark green to light green, or you could even do a rainbow ombre and do like all the colors of the rainbow, all just like gradually melting into each other. And then color melt is another term, which to me, I kind of feel like a color melt and an ombre are the same thing. I guess color melting is kind of more just like a technique, but same thing when the color is melting into another color essentially. So you're going from one thing to the other. So shadow root, root smudge, root tap, all of those different terms. Basically what that means is you are taking typically a demi-permanent hair color and you're putting it up at the root. And normally it's a color that either matches the client's natural hair color or it's a little bit lighter. What that does is it just kind of softens the roots. So as your roots start to grow in, you kind of have that little bit of a buffer space. It just blends everything together more nicely. Then for toners. Toner, glaze, gloss, these are all kind of interchangeable terms. Sometimes it just depends on your particular stylist, the salon you go to, the brand that they use, but they all, for the most part, mean the same thing. And what that normally is, it's again a demi-permanent hair color that is applied to kind of shift the tone of the hair. So if, say, you want silver hair, your hair can't just get lightened to a silver color. Like, you can't put bleach on your hair and it's going to turn silver. It doesn't work that way. You have to lighten the hair to a really light blonde and then use a silver toner to give that silver tone. So those are the biggest terms that I hear on a regular basis in the salon. And then of course all of these terms can be kind of intertwined. You can have highlights that are ombre, and depending on what your goal hair is, your hairstylist might do a combination of all these things. She might do some baby lights in the front and teasy lights up top and then balayage in the back underneath. But keep in mind, like I mentioned, a lot of these things come down to technique. So even me as a hairstylist, I can look at a picture of someone's blonde hair and I can't necessarily tell you for sure if a balayage was done to them, if it was a foilyage, if they had teasy lights, because there's so many different techniques and so many different ways that you can achieve a similar final look. And if I'm not seeing their before picture, I can't really tell what technique was used on that particular hair. So that's why it's really important to find a hairstylist that you trust, that you like their work. Look on Instagram, look at their portfolio. Don't just go to anyone. Don't just walk into your local hair salon and say, I want a balayage. Do a little bit of research. Make sure that the stylist you're going to specializes in whatever type of hair it is that you want. And then bring photos in with you to your appointment. When you're looking at these pictures, take into consideration too, what is it that you like about it? Is it the actual placement of where the color is on the head? Is it the actual color itself? Is it the tone of the hair that you like? Is it the fullness? Is it the way that the hair is styled? Because I know a lot of times we'll look at a photo and we'll love it and we'll think like, oh my God, yes, I want that, I love that. But really break it down, like, well, what is it about that you like? But a good hairstylist will know what technique to do. They'll know what's going to work best for your hair, what's going to look the most flattering on you with your skin tone, and they should know how to do a good consultation so that they're really understanding what it is that you want. But hopefully this video was a little bit helpful and it kind of gave you a little bit of explanation, just so that way when you're hearing some of these terms thrown around, you're not totally in the dark and you have a little bit of an understanding of what they all mean and what the differences are. Because again, the end result of a lot of these things will all look the same. So you might see one photo that's tagged Foilyage and another that's Balayage or Teasy Lights and be like, well, what is even the difference, you know? So it really does just kind of come down to technique. If you have any other terms that I didn't mention in this video that you would like an explanation of, definitely leave them down in the comments. And if there's any other hair related videos in general that you guys would like to see from me, let me know. If you aren't already subscribed to my channel, I would really appreciate it if you would take a second to subscribe before you go, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.